What's the first community you can ever remember being a part of? And what do you remember most about it?
I would say my first community was hockey, youth hockey in Wisconsin. And I remember watching the older kids when we would come to the rink. And before we could get on the ice, we would have to watch the other kids play. And it always seemed like there were older kids playing. And I just remember they all knew what to do. They knew where to go. They knew how to dress. They knew how to play. And the parents and siblings and just everybody that was there was just supportive. And I learned as much watching the older kids as I did from my coach or my team, which was really great. And I think that that is an analogy that communities can really bring. It's an analogy that I bring to our community now. We have the older kids that have been in the community longer in very representative, like leading roles to help everything from onboarding to support to lead by example. And then in my hockey community, I remember when the younger kids started coming in because I was growing up, what responsibility I had to like teach them how to skate, to teach them how to act in the locker room, to, when they were about to get into some mischief that we knew that wasn't the right mischief to get into. So like get there before the parents did. And that was my first community for sure.
That's really good. That reminds me of a mantra we have in the Ember community to find, it's kind of a call to my members to find someone who is one chapter ahead of you and one chapter behind you.
Yes.
And you have just as much to learn from the person who is one chapter behind you as the person who is one chapter ahead of you.
Yes, I totally agree. Yep.
So good. What's a hill you're willing to die on when it comes to leading people?
Oh man, I am dying on this one right now and you're watching me. I will die on the hill of we have more in common than we have that separates us, for sure. And it's so easy in our polarizing world where the algorithm is beating in our brains what we know and what we like, that the solutions to our problems come from being able to listen to people with different opinions. Yeah, I'll die on that hill.
That's so good. Thank you.
I'm just going to, because it's so timely.
Yeah.
At the risk of, people not agreeing with this, I am so impressed with Bill Maher and Donald Trump right now. To sit down, two people that have been harshly criticizing each other for a long time, to sit down and have a meal and talk about it. I love that. I also love Gavin Newsom bringing Steve Bannon on his podcast and Steve Bannon being willing to go. And people are finally in our political landscape in America bridging some of these really big gaps. And I obviously don't care what side of the gap people are on. What I care about is that they're willing to bridge the gap and talk about it.
Yep. 100%. I think my biggest insight coming out of this last election wasn't the outcome. It was my surprise at the outcome and how disconnected I felt like I had been. I was like, I don't think of myself as someone who's in an echo chamber. But when the election happened, I was like, shame on me. I have not created enough bridges into new environments and had enough conversations with people who are different. I clearly haven't because I'm shocked. And so what am I missing? Because I missed it.
You're not alone. Yeah.
What's something you created just for fun that ended up taking off in a big way?
Oh, I think the kombucha company is a great example of that. We loved making kombucha in our house for a lot of years, decades. and had zero interest in commercializing it. And then when we moved to Bend, it was super fun. My former wife, Michelle, and her friend were sitting at our kitchen table. I would make them sandwiches and they would talk about business ideas. And we threw some kombucha on the table one day and they were like, yeah, let's sell this. And no one knew what kombucha was. In Bend, Oregon, 9 out of 10 people didn't know what the word was. I mean, it was like no one knew what kombucha was. And they started selling it at farmers markets. And then we, went into a garage and out of our kitchen. And it was, and that was just for fun. I mean, nobody thought that was going to turn into a brand that sells $500 million worth of kombucha retail. So that was fun.
So that's a pretty good example.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
What's a question you wish more people asked you about your work?
I honestly don't think in those terms, Bree. I'm looking for it, and I just don't wish that people would ask me things that they don't.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I've got one more for you. What's your favorite metaphor for community?
I think my favorite metaphor for community would be that community it's very much like a musical performance, in that there's got to be someone or a couple of people that are fundamentally choosing the genre and writing the songs. But then if you don't have a band playing, then you're missing like the core of the delivery of it. But then if you don't have an audience and interactivity, then you're missing the energy of it. So there's the greatest music is music that is shared and played live, where people are interacting and singing along and cheering and watching it. So ultimately, there's going to be a person or two or three or four that are directing it and setting that original intention. And then they're bringing a band together to create it, but then it's being enjoyed. And actually, the beauty of it is inside of the individual's experience. Yeah, I think that's what community is all about.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful metaphor.
Thanks for asking. I'm going to use that again.
Good. Please repurpose.
Yeah, I will, for sure. I'm such a big fan of yours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks for inviting me on the show, and thanks for helping us build our community, and thanks for just being my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. Really appreciate you. And for anyone listening, we will have the Abundant Living, like the link to both the Azazi community. You'll see me in there and Eric in there. It's where we're doing this work on the regular. And we'll also include the link to the Abundant Living Retreat. If what Eric has said here resonates with you, and if you're looking for how you can facilitate experiences that are remarkable, I think it's a great place to start. Speaking as a community strategist.
We do have a lot of retreat leaders that go.
Mm-hmm.
This last year, we had a lot of people that were kind of training themselves on how to lead their own retreats.
Mm-hmm. It's an epic container for that. So if that's you, we'll have the link in the show notes. But yeah, Eric, thank you for joining us.
I loved it. Thanks, Bree.